The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has claimed that more than 65,000 uncollected permanent voter cards were destroyed in the fire that this week gutted the Commission's local government office in Ogun State. According to INEC's Commissioner for Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, all movable assets, including 904 ballot boxes, 29 voting cubicles, 30 megaphones, 57 election bags, 8 electric power generators, and 65,699 uncollected permanent voters' cards were lost to the fire, which is suspected to be an act of arson. Some hoodlums, numbering about 8, were said to have scaled the perimeter fence, jumped into the premises, and set the INEC building on fire from the rear side. In a related development, National Security Advisor Babagana Monguno has alerted Nigerians about who he called rogues, planning to disrupt the 2023 elections and vowed to deal with them. Monguno gave the warning at an emergency meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, ISES, comprising the Army, Air Force, Police, and the Department of State Security, among other security agencies, and hosted by the Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Mahmoud Yakubu. Monguno said he was aware that over last month, at least 52 cases of electoral violence across 22 states in the country had been reported. He described the situation as a bad signal that must be dealt with decisively. And as Nigeria prepares for the 2023 general election, politicians have been challenged to play by the rules of the game to avoid violent clashes during the elections. Inspector General of Police Usman Alkali Baba made the appeal during this week's ministerial briefing at the presidential villa, where he gave an update on the status of internal security operations and police reform. State House correspondent Adesuwa Omorwan reports.
A picture worth 1,000 words. Scenes from a campaign rally of the major opposition political party, PDP, in Borno State. This is not the first during this election cycle, as Nigerians prepare to elect President Muhammadu Buhari's successor next year, and there are fears it may not be the last. The police chief says politicians must shun violence and play by the rules, while adding that a team has been set up to investigate the Borno incident.
It takes two to tango. There are laid down means and ways, procedures to do rallies and campaign. On our part, we have gone out to appeal to politicians to play the game by the rules, and at the same time allow us to regulate political processions, campaigns and rallies to avoid clashes and so forth. What happened in Borno had happened, and the assessment of the of the state public relations officer might not be completely conclusive, as he reacted to what had happened very quickly. And I think we have a total team that will assess what had actually happened and the extent of what had happened based on various presentation that is coming out from members of the public, from the APC, from the PDP, from the police. So you need to have more information.
There are also allegations of high-handedness against political opponents by special security outfits created by state governors.
So while these outfits have been created to checkmate crime and criminality, we have also told them that they are not to be used for politicking or to be used for political reasons. You made mention of some of the particular, I think it was when you specifically mentioned Ibobagu. We have in many occasions checkmate their high-handedness by arresting and investigating those who have actually gone out of their way to commit crime, and we have charged them to court.
To uphold discipline and prevent the resort to self-help by aggrieved citizens, complaints desks of the police force have been set up with erring officers punished or dismissed from the police.
These units receive complaints physically and virtually, investigate and sanction incorrigible officers, pools unprofessional conducts, negate MPF policing values, and negatively impact the drive to smoothen partnership with citizens. The complaint response unit has also, this is highest because it is normally online. These complaints are received online. It has received about 732 cases. Number of complaints resolved 559, pending 144, false and unrelated 29.
The police chief describes the security situation in the country as reasonably stable, while revealing that there's an increased presence of officers along Nigeria's busiest highway, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, which has witnessed an increase in the cases of kidnapping. Adesuwa Omorwan, Arise News.
Kunle Adegoke, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, is a lawyer and managing partner at Kunle Adegoke & Co. He joins us now to have a conversation around who needs to live up to what responsibility for safety and sanity of the political process. Thank you for joining us, Kunle Adegoke SAN. Thank you very much indeed. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. Abati. It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, Mr. Adegoke, you will recall that earlier in the year, before the flag-off of campaigns, the National Peace Forum called all the political parties together and got them to sign a peace accord, the import of which was their commitment to the effect that they will give peace a chance and eschew violence and hate speech and all of that. But since that peace accord was signed, we've not seen any response positively in that regard. The leadership of the Labour Party has had to complain about its supporters being attacked in Nasarawa State and also in Lagos State. The leadership of the People's Democratic Party has also reported attacks, on persons trying to put up campaign billboards in Rivers State, and also most recently in Kaduna, attack again and again in Maiduguri, Borno State, on the convoy of the presidential candidate of the party, Atiku Abubakar. Other players in the process have had to complain about how in many states they are not allowed to put up billboards, they are not allowed access to strategic campaign centers, and of course now the security agencies themselves are saying that violence seems to be a very serious threat to the 2023 electoral process. Why do you think the perpetrators of this violence have refused to listen to good reason?
Thank you, Dr. Abati. I very much believe that insensitivity on the part of politicians and political leaders is quite very much responsible for the untoward situation that we are witnessing right now. And if not quickly stemmed, we might have a situation where the 2023 elections will be generally marred by violence. We have migrated a little bit from such scenarios that played out in 2007 and 2011. And by 2015, 2019, we could say we had recorded some improvements. But with the way things are going right now, I think there is a lot of threats of violence and actual perpetration of violence. And what is largely responsible for this is intolerance on the part of political leaders who have failed, because you will not see these political leaders themselves taking cordials and batons to go and fight out there, but their followers are on the streets perpetrating a lot of atrocities and wreaking havoc on political opponents. And until the leaders who probably are identified to be leading certain groups are being arrested and being prosecuted together with their followers, I believe that we might have a situation where these perpetrators of unnecessary violence would not listen to whatever sense of reason anybody is trying to pass across. It is not limited to a political party. It cuts across. And you see that violence we are talking about might be physical, might be online. We have seen situations where people are being bullied unnecessarily on Twitter, generally on the social media, and even on the physical streets. And this is a situation that no sane society will actually allow. I believe that leaders, political leaders in their various constituencies, more essentially from the level of the wards to the local governments and the state, must be arrested where such violence is seen to have been perpetrated on anyone, whether a fellow politician or just an ordinary member of the electorate. So I believe that what is responsible for it is the high level of intolerance, unnecessary hatred for members of opposing political parties, which we do not need at any point in time.
Well, the security agencies have been not only appealing to these politicians, they've repeatedly made it clear that anybody who promotes violence will be dealt with. The police say that some persons have already been arrested. Only a few days ago, there was a meeting of ISES, which is the Interconsultative Security Committee on Electoral security ahead of the election, comprising the police, the military, the Department of Security Services, and other agencies. But despite this, those who are promoting this violence, they don't seem to care. Is it that they do not trust the capacity of the police and the other security agencies to check them? Or it's just that they don't really care because in their reckoning the stakes are high?
Yes, it is the case that they actually do not care. But what I believe is promoting them is the fact that they believe that their leaders, their godfathers will be there to bail them out if they are arrested and they are being prosecuted. And the lawyers, they themselves might not be able to afford the services of lawyers, at least lawyers who are really worth their onions. But they believe that their leaders, their godfathers, their promoters will be there to bail them out and also provide legal services that would enable them to get off the hook. We have a situation where the laws are adequate. I can say this, that the laws are adequate, ranging from the provisions of the Electoral Act, which have been substantially improved upon, the provisions of the criminal code, criminal law of various states, and so many other laws like that, that have made enough provisions for punishments and prosecution process for such violence, such crimes being perpetrated by these individuals. But we have a situation where once they are arrested, with the conspiracy of even security agencies on some occasions, at times they take sides with maybe political parties that are in power, or maybe some political parties that are sufficiently bankrolled the security agencies. And in such situations, you discover that while a particular section of the thugs will be unleashing violence on the other, the police may just look the other side. But a situation where we are able to get the security apparatus checked, that they are ready to do the job as is required, you find a situation where whether you belong to the ruling party or to the opposition party or whatever party at all, you are arrested for the crime, you are immediately arraigned in court and being prosecuted. You discover that by the time such persons are being remanded in prisons, the population of those who are available to unleash violence for whatever reason will substantially reduce. And it will serve as a lesson to others who do not want to care or do not want to listen. By the time they see their comrades in arms now being jailed or being detained, you would find a situation where, in actual fact, we need to get the process right. And this is where the various ministries of justice must work together with the police and other security agencies to ensure that such persons, when arrested, it is not a question of just detaining, because these are open crimes that can be quickly investigated and prosecuted. But by the time somebody is being detained without prosecution, then a party will be shouting that they are members, because most of these politicians will masquerade thugs, will masquerade perpetrators of violence as just ordinary members or sympathizers of their political parties. And they want to project it to the public that their members are being unnecessarily prosecuted or persecuted. We have to ensure that the process of arrest and prosecution will be so quick that a person found guilty, we are in November now, we are looking at elections in February, March. By the time quite a number, already a substantial number is being shown the way to the prisons, you discover that most of the hirelings, the individuals responsible for these unnecessary crimes, will substantially reduce. And at that point, their leaders too will know that the election itself, the electoral process, to a large extent, we must give kudos to the National Assembly, we must give kudos to INEC for certain steps they have taken in improving on the provisions of the Electoral Act and working towards ensuring that there is sanity in our electoral process. As a lawyer, I've gone through the provisions of the Electoral Act, I've looked at the provisions of the regulations and manuals regulating elections and even pre-election processes. And it's on this basis that one can actually commend what has been done so far. However, if we do not enforce the law, because there is no law that is self-executing, it is not possible for a law to execute itself. And this is where the police, the other security agencies will have to crack down on these elements. They know them, and they have dossiers on most of these individuals perpetrating such atrocities. I believe that we need to bring some to book, and that is when they will serve as lessons, as deterrents, as precedents to others who may want to embark on such an ungodly and unholy step towards the election of 2023.
But who bears the cost? Take the state of Katsina, for example. The INEC chairman has said it may be difficult to conduct elections in about 400 polling units in Katsina State because there are security issues. But they are working on relocating persons who are supposed to vote in those polling units. How convenient would that be, possibly? And then look at, Adegoke South in Ogun State, where over 65,000 PVCs have been stolen or made away with by persons who set the place on fire, and also 8 generators gone, other facilities gone. And then in Osun State, Dr. Mutiu Adegoke, who is in charge of the electoral process there, also said, part of the office was set on fire. Add to this the fact that the INEC is also saying there are flood issues in many of the states. Would they be able to solve this problem before February? What should be our worst fear in terms of cost?
INEC contemplated, because, yes, I've had the opportunity to interrelate with some top elements in INEC, and I believe that they actually anticipated the situation, considering the security, the state of insecurity that has pervaded Nigeria for quite a while. And they actually anticipated a situation where elections might not be, or might be difficult, if not impossible, to conduct in some places. And working towards that, trying to look at how best to ensure that these will be minimized. However, with INEC being confronted with such challenges as we are witnessing right now in the month of November, it is becoming practically clear that many elements in our society are working towards making the elections of 2023 impossible. And you all will, everybody will agree with me that for presidential election, for governorship election, you must have scored a particular minimum as stipulated by the Constitution before you can be declared winner of such elections. Where it is not possible to conduct elections in a substantial part of a constituency, if presidential election in the whole of Nigeria, or if it is governorship election in a particular state, substantial part of a state, definitely it might be difficult, if not impossible, to conduct election, to declare a winner and have a succession process being put in place without hitches. And I'm looking at a situation that if the government does not act stiffly, the allegation in the public domain that there are certain elements within government that do not want power to be handed over might be something that the government will have to contend with for quite a long while. And it is questioning the credibility of the system. It is questioning the honesty of the operators of the system, where we have challenges of this nature, and we have not seen substantial crackdown on these elements. For instance, in Osun has been largely peaceful until the last governorship election, when we have some elements, coming out to attack some individuals, killing people and what have you. And where a situation of that nature continues, in many states you discover that it will be impossible to have the electoral process effectively engineered and executed. And I'm afraid of a situation where what has just recently happened in Osun might be replicating itself, where INEC offices will be set on fire in many places. So it is important that these facilities are adequately guarded, because where the facilities are not sufficiently guarded, by now one would believe that there must be security cameras, there must be CCTV in and around INEC premises, that when such individuals are gaining access into the premises, or they are trying to perpetrate the atrocities from a place close to the INEC facilities, it will be possible to capture them and then identify the individuals. A situation where this is not done, a situation where enough security system is not put in place. For instance, in Osun, I doubt if there is anything like CCTV, then you find a case where such perpetrators will go scot-free. And if the police will arrest anybody now after the deed had been done, after the evil had been perpetrated, you discover that it might be innocent members of the public that will be unduly arrested and detained, and only for their people to come and be paying huge sums to bail them out of detention. We have to ensure that the electoral process, pre and during and post the elections, must be such that can take care of ensuring that we have a succession process that cannot be disrupted by any evil genius, no matter how important such a person might be. If such had not been done, I think INEC still has enough time. In a matter of 2-3 weeks, they can put CCTV cameras in all the facilities in the various local governments of the Federation. If they don't have budget for it, this may have to be an emergency appropriation that they will have to do. If it is not done, we are facing a huge crisis threatening to consume Nigeria. The state of insecurity as we have it right now is not commending and is not commendable at all. And a situation where we are not ready to put in place the gadgets, the security system, and deploy enough security elements to guard such facilities, you discover that the election will not be possible. That is maybe before and during the elections. And during the elections itself, you find that if we do not ensure that the various polling units are adequately manned and that we conscientize the electorate sufficiently, we might have a situation on our hands where the election in substantial part of Nigeria will be rendered impossible. And it doesn't, okay. It is at a huge cost to the nation that our economy cannot sustain.
Okay, Mr. Adegoke, let me ask you, before the president's trip to the UK for medical reasons, there was a senior police officers course that held in Owerri. And at that program, the president charged the police officers going to the elections to be professional, to be completely neutral. And he pledged the support of the government for them. But at the same time, we have had the incident in Borno State, whereby tapes, video recordings by journalists indicated that indeed the convoy of the presidential candidate of the PDP was attacked by the police in the state. The police commissioner, speaking through his spokesperson, said, oh, it was a lie. But the evidence had been provided in public. Do you really think that this Nigerian police force can be trusted to be non-partisan, to be completely neutral, to be professional?
There are I believe that there are many officers within the Nigerian police who are not ready to do their jobs professionally, who are not ready to cooperate to ensure that the system actually works. For whatever reason, for whatever bias such officers might have, it doesn't commend any police organization. And when the other time I said that the Nigerian police is fast becoming a rogue organization, I was heavily criticized by the chairman of the Police Service Commission. And right now, a situation where evidence is being provided by members of the public. Today, we have, journalism has gone beyond the traditional, sorry to go this way, journalism has gone beyond the traditional mode, the traditional system, where it is only maybe 2 individuals posted by Arise or by channels or NTA that will be able to capture an incident on camera. We now have a situation where street journalism is responsible for capturing substantial evidence. And the implication is that where the police do not even make provision for such gadgets that can give them direct evidence of what transpires in a particular crime scene. And they have the opportunity, the service of good-spirited Nigerians who probably as journalists in the course of their professional performance, they are able to capture such incident. Then it behoves the police to ensure that they take such evidence into consideration in ensuring that the perpetrators of a criminal activity are arrested and prosecuted. A situation where elections are coming, and we are not talking about a local government candidate, a local government election candidate, or a ward election candidate now being attacked. We are talking about a presidential candidate being attacked. It speaks volumes. It shows how insecure Nigeria could be for you and me, whatever the political party the person, the individual might belong to, whether APC, PDP, Labour Party, NRC, SDP, or whatever our action group. It is time for us to ensure that when such atrocities are perpetrated, we act swiftly. And this is where the police would be having questions to answer. I do not think it is commendable. I don't think it is honorable and it is not professional for the Commissioner of Police in Borno to say that he wasn't aware of such incident or that it is a lie. Why wouldn't he just call on the journalists to provide copies of the tape that will show that yes, this incident happened, these atrocities were perpetrated, no matter the multitude of individuals that were responsible for such acts? It is the responsibility of the police to at least pick a few that will serve as a lesson to others. If they run into hundreds but their leaders are picked, you discover that the followers will check themselves. Many people do not want to comply with the law, if not the sight and the presence and the acts of the police institution. So it is time we make our police institution to be more professional, to be more diligent in the performance of their duties, to be more neutral and unbiased. I do not expect the Commissioner of Police to pass such a magisterial pronouncement on the incident that he never probably bothered to investigate or to even arrest anybody to prosecute.
Well, Mr. Adegoke, just 2 quick questions because we have just a few minutes to wrap up this segment of the program. The first one, the election petition tribunals have been inaugurated. The lordships, 300 of them, have been named. But at the same time, the chairman of INEC has had to raise alarm about the spate of litigations, most of them vexatious litigations. Pre-election, arising from primaries and nomination of candidates alone, INEC has been joined in over 600 cases. In one particular day, INEC received summons in about 70 cases. And the INEC chairman is saying, look, the judiciary must come to the aid of INEC because these cases are just too many. But it's not only the judiciary that needs to protect the INEC. I guess also lawyers those who are perpetually bringing vexatious, petitions, looking for what is it called, ex parte applications, that are dispensed, without regard to basic principles. How do you think we'll deal with this matter? Because it looks like, if the INEC chairman is to be believed, this 2023 election will be determined more in the courts than at the polling booths.
Yes, what we have right now is something that is engineered by the Constitution itself, more essentially with respect to pre-election matters. We have an amendment introduced into Section 285 of the Constitution. We now have Section 285(14)(c) that defines, alongside with 14A and B, that now defines pre-election matter to mean or to include a situation where a political party is complaining about the exclusion of its candidate, or about a disqualification, rather, of its candidate in an election, or, and this is the problematic aspect of it, if it had been limited to just a political party complaining about the disqualification of its candidate, it would be okay. But now it now goes further to say that where a political party is complaining about the decision or act of INEC concerning the primaries of a political party, not even of that particular political party, of another political party in the conduct of its primaries, etc., then such a political party is now has been interpreted to mean having the locus standi to go to court. If you look at, I can say, and I can bet this, that more than 50% of such cases are cases being filed by some political parties to challenge the nomination process of another political party. That particular political party did not comply with its own constitution. Not the constitution of the challenging party, but the constitution of the party, the other party that conducted a primary. And when we have a situation of this nature, political parties are now running to court to disqualify their opponents on the basis that the political party of such opponent did not comply with the provisions of the Electoral Act or the constitution of that party itself. Such issues used to be regarded as internal affairs of that particular political party that only, probably in some nomination cases, only the aspirant that participated in the primary election could challenge. But by the time you give APC, now the Constitution has given APC to challenge the primary process of PDP. For PDP to challenge the process by which the candidate of Labour Party emerged. You now have a situation where a deluge of cases has invaded the courts. And the High Court, now is only the Federal High Court that has the jurisdiction to determine these cases. Federal High Court judges are dying under the heavy weight of these cases. That they even have to recently constitute a panel of judges who will abandon all other cases and not be attending to only pre-election matters. You find a situation where we now have INEC being joined, because a political party that wants to complain about the primary of, if Party A wants to complain about the primary of Party B, it must be in relation to an act done by INEC. For God's sake, what act could INEC have done except probably to accept the nomination of Party B's candidate? And that is what Party A is now challenging all over the Federation. We now have hundreds of cases, running to 1,000, in which INEC has been made the primary defendant to such cases. So INEC is being sued everywhere, but INEC has an option. Let me clear this. INEC has an option to ignore such cases, because in all these cases, INEC is usually like a nominal party. For instance, let me give you an example. In the case of a PDP, Malabuni, in which I am still, because we are now on appeal, in which I am still counsel, you find a situation where INEC was made the first defendant. But INEC made the fifth defendant. INEC looked at the case and decided to just ignore it. INEC did not file anything, and that cannot amount to admission on the part of INEC. So it is being slugged out between PDP and APC and the candidates of the political parties. We have so many cases like that all over the Federation. So I will encourage and I will advise the INEC chairman to ignore such pre-election matters and just concentrate on the business that has been assigned to him. When it comes to election properly, INEC is a statutory defendant because there is no complaint that will be levied by any petitioner that will not concern INEC in the conduct of the election, whether it relates to corrupt practices or non-compliance with the Electoral Act, or that the candidate that was declared winner did not win by majority of lawful votes cast. Whatever could be the ground, INEC is a statutory party to such a case. And fundamentally, where a complaint touches on an officer of INEC, whether a presiding officer or a collation officer of INEC or returning officer, definitely INEC is the only body that can defend such allegation on behalf of its agents. So INEC is a statutory litigant, a statutory defendant or respondent to such a case. But with respect to pre-election matters, which are the ones that are bothering INEC chairman right now, I think INEC would do best to ignore such cases and continue with his own business. But whoever now wins, among PDP, NRC, SDP, Action Group, or whatever, then the court is in a position to declare that.
Okay, Mr. Adegoke, finally, a matter that has been in the news over the weekend about the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, whether or not he was involved in a case of criminal forfeiture or civil forfeiture in the United States, and whether criminal or civil forfeiture amounts to, a criminal imputation. And the statement that was put out by INEC purportedly, which INEC also came out and said, oh, it was not, it's not investigating anything, it's not interested in the matter. And others have pointed out Section 137 of the Constitution with regard to qualification for the office of the president. And they have said no. INEC, in fact, has a reason to look into that matter. What do you think? I've tried to provide a very quick summary. As briefly as possible. We need to go on break.
Right. Thank you. Where an allegation of this nature has been made, I think we have enough security agencies on ground that can investigate this. INEC may not be the best to investigate this particular allegation. Even if INEC finds such a thing to have happened in the past, INEC may not be in the position to immediately disqualify such a candidate. And it might require, because the allegation they are talking about, I'm not sure whether it happened in the past 10 years or when, INEC might not be in a position to immediately disqualify such a candidate. It's going to eat up the polity. I think it might be better for the relevant agencies to investigate the allegation properly and find out if there was such a forfeiture, and if there was, what exactly does it amount to in our law? Would it amount to criminal imputation by which such a candidate can be disqualified? If it doesn't amount to, then what exactly is it? So I believe that INEC, putting the ball in the court of INEC at this time might not be best for that body. INEC is not really, does not even have the capacity to investigate criminal allegations, strictly speaking. And if we have the police, we have EFCC, because criminal forfeiture of an amount which may have been proceeds of crime will equally yield to the portfolio of EFCC. So I believe that such organization might have to do a quick investigation upon which a recommendation can be made to INEC. And if it amounts to fresh crime within our law, that such individual can be prosecuted, because until there is probably a conviction of an individual for an offense, mere criminal imputation may not amount to a ground upon which INEC can take a step disqualifying a candidate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adegoke, SAN, for joining us on This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show.